In 2015, the United States Environmental Protection Agency issued the Startup, Shutdown, and Malfunction Rule, it's SSM. This rule required industrial facilities in Texas and 35 other states to follow specific air pollution guidelines whenever starting and shutting down plants or whenever they had a malfunction. Previously, plants were able to leverage a loophole to release unlimited pollutants during startups, shutdowns, and malfunctions without legal penalties under the Clean Air Act. States had 18 months to submit their plans to comply with the SSM rule, but within that time, Donald Trump became U.S. president, and some states, including Texas, still hadn't filed their plans. In January of this year, the U.S. EPA began a process to roll back those SSM rules for Texas. On April 7th, the Sierra Club and several other advocacy groups filed litigation to stop the EPA from reopening the SSM loophole in Texas. States, including Texas, as well as other industry groups, previously challenged the Startup, Shutdown, Malfunction rule. That case was heading for oral arguments in the D.C. Circuit Court back in 2017 when the Trump administration asked for a stay so its attorneys could buy time to study the rule. Texas is the first state the EPA had carved out of the original SSM rule. What does that mean? Well, there are a couple of things going on here. The rollback of environmental protections by the Trump administration and business as usual in Texas. The current administration has rolled back several key environmental protections. These shifts in policy affected the Clean Power Plan to reduce emissions from the U.S. energy sector, as well as many others that address environmental issues including clean air, clean water, and habitat restoration. This Startup, Shutdown, Malfunction rule is another offensive against the Clean Air Act in a long line of the White House's attacks. As with many of the Trump administration's rollbacks, the arguments for rescinding these regulations are generally not clearly laid out and lack legal reasonableness. Here's a case in point. As of March 14th of this year, the administration has only won legal attempts at environmental rollbacks in a few cases. When compared with previous presidencies, the success rate really sucks. 5% during this administration compared to an overall 69% success rate of President Trump's predecessors. So, furthermore, fighting environmental regulation in Texas is pretty usual in Texas. For over a decade, in the clean air, the only change we really saw after November 2016 was that Texas would be on the same side as the decision makers in Washington. Back in the Barack Obama administration, Texas went on a lawsuit rampage. 27 of the 49 cases focused on objections to environmental regulations. Texas won something like 6 of these 27 cases. 4 of those wins were in the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, a notoriously conservative court where Texas prefers to have its cases heard and where the state is hoping the Startup, Shutdown, Malfunction loophole case will be heard, as opposed to the D.C. Circuit, where environmental litigation stands a fairer chance. So, Trump administration has been on a roll rescinding environmental rules since coming into office, but the timing of the litigation and rule reversals are particularly cruel considering the climate risks the United States citizens face. During extreme weather events like hurricanes and floods, industrial facilities often have to be shut down. But before the deployment of the SSM rule, the loophole allowed industrial facilities to release unlimited pollutants into the air. Typically, those who live near such facilities already suffer from poor air quality, and levels of pollution could be 10 times the amount normally allowed. The Texas state government's resistance to the Startup, Shutdown, Malfunction rule means that vulnerable, low-income communities located near refineries in Houston were made more so in the aftermath of Hurricane Harvey, for example. Now, many people in these communities are already suffering from pollution-related illnesses like asthma, making them more at risk to complications from COVID-19. Allowing this loophole to continue would exacerbate an already serious problem. Add to the fact that the hurricane season starts a little bit over a month, and meteorologists are predicting a more active than normal hurricane season this year. With no indication of how long this pandemic is going to last, a busy hurricane season need not be worsened by a loophole that allows even more air pollution.